let's just get right into it, and that's why in this video we are going to be talking about how the U.S. military actually responded to the now close to million people who RSVP'd to raid Area 51 to see aliens. We're also going to give you the latest update about our favorite politicians, Bill and Hill Dog, with what they're up to, as well as covering all the information about the latest leak coming out of the United Kingdom, as well at the end of this video, talk about the Facebook status that Facebook won't let me post. That's why we're also going to be talking about that, plus a lot more in this video, which exists partially because of your support and participation purchasing our t-shirts. And if you want to make a statement, start a conversation, trigger some NPCs, liptards, or cuckservatives, the WeAreChange t-shirt store is for you. Click the link down below and represent your discontent against the hooey in our society. Now, to me, one of the most interesting news stories that happened today is the very fact that the U.S. military actually responded to the Raid Area 51 Facebook event that now nearly has close to 1 million RSVPs of random people from all over the world that, as a joke, plan to storm Area 51 to see aliens. It's pretty much a prank, a troll. But just like the mainstream media is taking it seriously, so is the U.S. military, as the U.S. Air Force spokesperson, Laura McAndrews, said, quote, that she would like to discourage anyone from trying to come into the area where we train American armed forces, and that the U.S. Air Force, quote, always stands ready to protect America and its assets. And you know, this is a pretty interesting response, since they're protecting America from Americans and taxpayers. Personally, I'm surprised many right-wingers haven't joined this cause, you know, since, you know, illegal aliens are living in Area 51, and we are paying for it with our tax dollars. So, yeah, anyway, see you at Area 51 on September 20th, by the way. Moving forward, in other government secrecy news, we have the British government revealing that it will be apologizing to Donald Trump and the White House after leaked confidential memos came out from the UK ambassador, who in these leaked cables described the Trump administration as, quote, inept and dysfunctional. Now, what's really important about these leaked memos that came out is that high-ranking Metropolitan Police officials in the UK even warned journalists that they could face prosecution for publishing the memos, which they considered, quote, criminal matter, since, of course, these memos were leaked, that they said was, quote, not in the public interest. And, of course, the police officers are investigating this. And luckily, there is still some kind of semblance of sanity. And of course, many people have criticized the Metropolitan Police Department for trying to restrict press freedoms by warning journalists not to report on leaked information. Again, this also highlights just the deranged mentality of police authority figures, especially in the United Kingdom, that think that there's some kind of holy royal crap that could decide what people can and cannot see. That think that there's some kind of holy crap that could do whatever the hell they want, and they can't. And I would definitely beg to differ with their comments about these documents being, quote, of public interest, because they definitely are of public interest, and they are very interesting, to say the least, with accusations being levied against Donald Trump that he, quote, pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in order to spite Obama, and that this was, quote, an act of diplomatic vandalism, seemingly for ideological and personality reasons. And this is what the previously classified private memos said about Donald Trump from the United Kingdom's former ambassador to the United States. Now, of course, these are very serious accusations, and even though I completely disagree with the UK ambassador that Trump did this only to spite Obama, I do not believe that to be the case, but there is something worth considering in this entire debate, because in my opinion, Trump pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal was absolutely stupid. And really hurt not only the United States, but the world in many instances. Not only did Europe have to create an alternative payment system to circumvent Iran's sanctions against the US dollar, but when we look at the Iran nuclear deal, this is almost the same deal, if not identical to the deal that Donald Trump wants to have with North Korea. And the Iran nuclear deal made it so Iran would never seek nuclear weapons. They had to reduce their enriched uranium stockpiles by 98%. They had to destroy their reactor cores that is used to make plutonium, and they had limits and very intrusive inspections on their countries for 10 to 25 years. In exchange, of course, for the United States getting rid of economic sanctions against Iran, which allowed them to sell oil on the world market, making energy more readily available and also cheaper, with oil prices going down, with more of a supply being available on the world market. Iran prospered because they were able to make money. The world prospered because energy was more readily available for cheaper, which actually helped the global economy. And tensions of the larger clash of civilizations between Saudi Arabia and Israel and the Sunnis versus, of course, Iran and their allies, China and Russia, and the Shiites, were pretty much chilling out. And now Donald Trump got out of this deal. He lied to us about why. He's highlighting defunct information, doesn't show us any evidence, and he's creating a disastrous situation in the Middle East that will unfold and have severe ramifications for the entire world. I mean, look what happened recently with how close the U.S. was to actually bombing and starting a war with Iran. But then, allegedly, last minute, Donald Trump said that he didn't want the U.S. airstrikes on Iranian military positions to kill an estimated 150 lives. We, of course, were reporting to you about that the very instant that we heard about it, and we called out the inconsistencies with this story and told you that there was more to this than just the official government explanation. We were very skeptical and told you that it was not the sympathy of Donald Trump that stopped this war from taking place because of the quote 150 lives. And it absolutely doesn't make sense on many different levels. If we look at the main kind of U.S. weapon on the world stage, it is economic sanctions. Since, of course, the U.S. dollar, the U.S. petrodollar, is very important on the world stage. Because of the power of the dollar, the United States is able to, of course, use economic warfare or sanctions against countries that do not go along with the United States' geopolitical goals, or even sometimes, as documented, corporate multinational goals. Just like in Venezuela, where we are finding out that tens of thousands of deaths that the U.S. media was decrying are, as a result, because of very strict U.S. sanctions. Economic war that goes against the sick, the poor, the elderly, and the most defenseless in a society, that even according to Fareed Zakari, who, by the way, a Bilderberg member that I disagree with on so many things, but he made a very interesting point here that with all the sanctions on Iran by the United States has killed far beyond 150 Iranians. And this, of course, again, it's not young men, soldiers, that are being affected by this economic warfare, but again, the most defenseless in that country, who are most severely affected by these sanctions that do have a human cost associated with them. And this is why, along with the other arguments I made before with Donald Trump talking about not caring about civilian casualties, conducting more drone strikes than Obama, and continuing to exceed him by far greater numbers, is one of the reasons why we should be very critical of Donald Trump. And again, in my opinion, this was not done all in the price to spite Obama, but done because of the long-term globalist, neoconservative, warhawk agenda of the U.S. military-industrial complex that strives off conflict, war, and ultimately chaos, which American U.S. foreign policy under Donald Trump is creating in the Middle East. Yeah. Well, that's going to piss off a lot of people, but you know what? That's the truth. And you could criticize me, you could tune off, Yeah, you may not like this truth, but convince me if I'm wrong. Do you have any evidence suggesting that I am wrong on my assessment right now? Because again, I know way too many people who don't want this to be true, but need to realize this to be true in order to move forward successfully in life. And the reason we are repeating our mistakes and creating chaos in this world is because people are turning a blind eye to the most important aspects. The left is not talking about this. The left's literally becoming the most hyperbolic, insane, crazy ass hats that exist in the history of our civilization. And this, of course, is promoted by the mainstream media. This, of course, is what everyone's talking about. Someone like Alyssa Milano, literally tweeting picture of concentration camps with, of course, a picture of a migrant detention center. Just showing the absolute delusion that, of course, is promoted and pushed out there to divide and conquer people emotionally as much as they can. I mean, seriously, people have lost their minds to compare a situation that was one of the most disastrous in our history, that I had family die in, compared to, of course, people trying to get into a country illegally. Why am I even trying to justify it? This is just insane. And the insanity is spreading, as we just saw a man yesterday in Washington try to attack an ICE detention facility by throwing incendiary devices while being armed with a rifle, making his attack on the immigration detention center, which of course led to him being shot and killed. But sadly, with the insanity being spread by the mainstream media and of course many different personalities online, you can only expect these lone wolf idiots to copy the insane, hyperbolic rage cliques that are promoted. And surprisingly, a lot of this is done with the cheers of other individuals who are only becoming more and more radicalized, as if this was being done on purpose by special interests, so we don't look at the real root of our problems. And again, the right is not doing themselves any favors, specifically also Donald Trump, when of course being met with criticism from Ilhan Omar, his response is to tell them to go back to their own country. Now, again, talking point, this is gonna rile up the base, but ultimately doesn't do anything to soothe the conversation and the dialogue in this country, but creates a bigger divide without actually getting to the merits of the real issue, instead of just making it a hyperbolic, insane conversation that's dominated with emotions rather than, of course, logic and common sense. And that's why I blame the media on this. But hey, that's why we got to be different. That's why we got to be better. And that's why here at WeAreChange, we try to be the media that should exist and trying to replace the mainstream media by doing their job better. And it's important to report on many different aspects, many different things, including things that, of course, social media and the authorities don't want you reporting on. As just yesterday, I was trying to post this Zero Hedge article that talked about the socialite, the madam, or otherwise known as Jeffrey Epstein's pimp, Ghislaine Maxwell, who, by the way, father is not only a media mogul, but highly connected to the Israeli government. And Zero Hedge released an expose talking about Miss Maxwell, who is a longtime confidant of Jeffrey Epstein and is accused by 3 women of procuring and training underage children to, quote, perform indecent illegal acts on the 66-year-old billionaire pedo Jeffrey Epstein. Now, her father, of course, faced accusations about being a Mossad double agent and a, quote, bad character, which could explain a lot of the secrecy and insanity surrounding the Jeffrey Epstein case. Now, Miss Maxwell was also pictured at Chelsea Clinton's wedding, also pictured here with Prince Andrew, the UK royalty, of course, pictured behind Virginia Roberts, one of the major plaintiffs surrounding this entire case. And for some reason, this is something that Facebook deems against the community standards, which is absolutely stupid, and we'll highlight what you could do at the end of this video to fight that. And now, in related Bill and Hillary Clinton news, we're finding out that the corrupt couple was actually booed at a Billy Joel concert after the singer dedicated a song to them, with Fox News saying they got a taste of New York's state of mind. And of course, this does not surprise me, with of course the very cherished loved by the mainstream media only Clinton couple finally having to deal with some dose of reality. Now again, just like we saw on Facebook, it's more important than ever to follow independent media, to share the videos if you want them to be seen by anyone else than you, since of course a lot of them are being shadow banned, deranked, and destroyed by the algorithm that does not want you talking, listening, and knowing this important information that we just shared in this video. And that's why it's more important than ever that you guys go to WeAreChange.org, and in the top right-hand corner, sign up on our email list. It's one of the best ways that we can't be censored. And because you guys still share this video, because you guys still participate, because you guys appreciate the voice that we have here, and really, you're one of the few reasons that we're still here. And that's why, love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on WeAreChange.org.